this is Tala with Drive-thru Therapy. Thank you again for joining me on this, once again, windy night. And I'm beginning to like those windy nights. They're a little bit loud in a quiet home, but it's enjoyable to hear. It's almost therapeutic. So of course, what a better, more therapeutic climate to have to do this episode, which is the Taking It Personally episode. How do we get past or recover quickly from or learn to take responsibility for our own offense or how we feel when we're offended? So that's what this topic is about. So I would like to first describe being offended by kind of giving you a background of a human being. So a human being grows up in their own environment with their own culture, whether it's a familial culture or even the society and its culture. There's multiple influences that influence a human being. So as they grow up, their ideas and beliefs and even identity is starting to shape, right? Or is shaping and then we get sold on those ideas. We've been reinforcing them as our reality for so long, we get kind of sold on them. And we can become defensive, if anybody tells us something that is different from us or what we believe we are. So that's one way to describe offense, is that this person has had all these experiences, and a lot of times we just defend what we believe is real to us. Now, another explanation for offense or being defensive or offended is that along the line of the human experience, it is very difficult for a person to push our buttons. Very difficult for a person to push our buttons. And the reason why it's difficult is because they don't really know you as well as you know you. But since you're kind of, what Freud says, you're projecting in some cases where you believe that this person is rude when you're the one who's really rude, right? Or this person's insensitive when you're the one who's really insensitive. It's called blame shifting, or how Freud says it, projection. That's another way to explain being offended, because you're the one from your own experiences and your own frame of reference sitting there in judgment of another person. And you're the one becoming offended because of the interpretation you're giving about what the other person is doing. So all of it is very much, this ego-driven process in our head. And very few of us kind of sit there and think and become aware of, I certainly didn't until it was shown to me, of how to sit with myself and take responsibility for my feelings. The thing is, I had to ask myself when I got offended over and over again by sometimes strangers, co-workers, whoever, people that did not know me well. I started to ask myself, how much do I know and trust what I know about myself? How much do I know myself? Because if I think another person's opinion about me, or another person's, if they're really offending you out loud, they're actually telling you, hey, you're this, and they're making judgments of you. I'm wondering, how much do you distrust you that you're not able to kind of in your mind say, this is not real. This statement is about them. It's not about me. A lot of us don't do that. A lot of us kind of say, this person hurt my feelings. This person was really intentional. They really offended me. Not thinking that I'm the one looking at them and I'm the one interpreting their behavior as offensive, right? At this point, I'm relieving my own responsibility for my own emotions to another person. I'm handing them the keys to my emotions. I'm telling them, here you go. You know about me more than I know about me. And you offended me. And you need to fix it. So because they're going to need to fix this, and they don't even know how they did it, you're going to be waiting in disappointment for a long while. And you're going to be experiencing the extreme of that disappointment, brewing in it like a Boston brewery, full Boston brewery that's just packed with people. That's really how you're going to be sitting with it. So we want to save you from this pain and this hurt and this offense. And the best way to do it is by starting to take responsibility for us and our human experiences. And when I feel offended, what does it really say about me? What do I need to be looking at when I get offended? Oh, holy me gets offended. Oh, most holy self gets offended. What does that mean about me? So let's get to the next part here. I write these down on little cards, and sometimes it's interesting because I can't even read my own handwriting, but in my head, it's organized. So we've established that nobody can really push your buttons. We've also established that you need to ask the question whether you know enough about you and to know whether this statement that they said was really for you or wasn't. The next thing that I really want you to understand, another justification for us to think that we're offended, is that we think that we know the intentions of another person. We are apparently psychics, all of us. And we say, well, I know her. I know her. Which is implying that you know her intentions, you know what makes her tick, her dreams, her experiences. By saying that statement, what you're doing indirectly is taking responsibility for all of this person's experiences, past, any little hang-ups they have, any unresolved issues, anything at all. You're taking responsibility in interpreting all of that with that statement. Now, most of you will think, well, Tala, that's a little too much, but I'm a little too much. So there's only one way to put it, which is just to hit it home by just being a little too much. But that's what it feels like, is when I become a psychic and I start interpreting people's intentions, and I'm not doing the work. I'm just shifting blame on them. I'm just reacting at this point. I'm not intentional in any way. I'm just kind of like spitting out, being defensive right away, having to prove to this person or change their feeling because I got hurt somehow. Any of the following. So we don't want to be doing damage control as much. We want to stop these little mini crises that we have throughout the day, because we are not experiencing crisis throughout the day, but it feels like that in our head when we're getting offended left and right, and then that we perceive other people as a threat. So that takes me to the next implication of, that you know somebody else's intention. You're the one who's looking at them, interpreting that intention. So something in you perceives people as a threat. Maybe not people in general, but some people, certain themes about people, certain traits about people. And those are important to look at, because when I get offended, the first thing I think about, okay, Tala, how did you offend yourself? It's my favorite statement. Tala, how did you offend yourself? So even when I'm like angry and I'm like, clearly this person was intentional, like in my head I can justify this nonsense, right? I go back to, hey, how did I offend myself? Because they are not that good at knowing me more than I know myself. So let me go ahead and take responsibility and limit the pain that comes from interpreting other people's intentions and experiences and not taking responsibility for my own buttons. Yeah. So that's kind of the important thing that I want to discuss about being offended, is just the justifications for your offense. When somebody says, well, they hurt my feelings, a lot of the times in our society today, we really give that a lot of weight. We call 5 other people and we talk about it over and over again. And we know who to call too. We know to call the people that are going to have the same views as I do. And most of the time will kind of egg me on. If I'm not aware, they'll egg me on unintentionally. They're just being friends and supportive. But I need to be in check of my own emotions, of my own offense. When I start telling the story to other people about whatever this person said and did to me, at this point, I'm just taking it to the biggest. I'm just becoming, what's the word? I don't know. But I stopped taking responsibility for how I feel. Now I want people to validate my nonsense reality that I've created about myself, that this person really could come into my brain, inject some offense fluid in my brain without, involuntarily, right? And leave and just kind of, sneak out into the darkness and say he all the way out, right? With like a witch sounding voice. But all of this is not true. All of this is not true. So we got to be aware of when we start telling the story about our own offense to other people. At this point, you just want to, or check your motive. Do you really want to be checked about what you said and what this person said? And do you really want a good, honest answer? Or do you call the people that you know are going to take your side and it's just going to be a nice gossip, bitch session? You decide what your motive is. Because I know for me, I did both. I did both. So there's some people that I would call and I'm like, okay, check me. But those were not often. They came in later. The people that I did call before were people that I gossiped with and were people that I entertained these nonsense realities with them. And of course, I knew how to pick them, right? I picked people that were just very much sounding like me. That's what we do. So let's get serious. If you would like to stop being offended, or at least recover from it quickly, you have to increase your self-awareness and take responsibility for your emotions. Nobody's hurting your feelings. They can't go in there and start cutting up your feelings with a knife. They can't do it. You're the only one doing it to yourself. You're the only self-emotional cutter. Lack of a better statement here, or descriptor. You are the only one doing that to yourself. You're the only one causing yourself that pain. So I really challenge you to take this next level of emotional maturity and empowerment and reflect on whether you would like to continue relieving yourself of the responsibility of your emotions to other people instead of going to you first as the source of relief. Instead of expecting somebody to apologize, talking to death about it with somebody else that they have offended you and they continue to offend you, especially if you're married. If you're married and you're always complaining about how your husband and your wife are offending you, at one point, it's like, and this is going to be a whole different episode, but at one point we have to take responsibility for the fact that, if I'm being touchy all day long and everything that my spouse is doing, or my boyfriend and girlfriend are doing, is offending me, then I gotta take a look at what the heck I'm doing inside of myself. This is living in pain. I mean, it is not the intention of people that love us to harm us. And if I'm living in this high level of being offended, like the majority of the time, a lot of the times, okay, and I'm having a hard time recovering, I gotta look at my core belief about me being threatened by people, by humanity. And it could even be a childhood issue. I know most people are rolling their eyes at me. Of course it is. You're a therapist. You think everything is a childhood issue. But yes, of course I do. But I think there's also within me that thinking people are a threat automatically, subconsciously makes me defensive with them. My interpretations of them are not going to be nice. They're not going to be kind. They're going to be the worst case scenario. Oh, I'm suspicious, that's me. It's hard for me to trust people. People have to earn my trust. When we say these nonsense things, thinking that it's about people and not even about me, when I perceive people as a threat and I'm looking at them that way, I'm having the expectation that they're going to let me down. And because you're very good at seeing it and you've been reinforcing it for years, people are going to let you down. People are going to let you down. So be kind and gentle and compassionate to yourself. Start working on belief that people are a threat and start relating to them on a human level. Start seeing them as more in common rather than we're so different beliefs system. That's the beauty of us doing the work for ourselves. Slowly we are set free from the old belief system that had imprisoned us. Because when we feel that people are a threat, we're not allowing good and bad to come in. And we're probably going to make all the good pretty bad because we're the ones looking at them. We're the ones interpreting them as being good or bad. So one of the best, most helpful things I did for myself was to change the belief that people are a threat to my emotions, to my well-being. And how I did that was I took responsibility for how I feel. And it's not like people don't offend me, but and it's not like I'm exempt from that emotion. Absolutely not. But today, I don't have to go to this person, tell them off about themselves and speak up for myself. I think way too many people do that today. I'm more tolerant. My response is going to be much more tolerant than it was before. And even with my offense, I will sit with myself before I even go talk to this person or even interact with them. I'm going to take responsibility for how I feel. I'm going to remind myself, what is it that they reminded me about me? If I was offended in something they did, I'm the one looking at them. So what is it about them that reminded me of myself? Things that I don't like about me. Basically, that's what Freud says. And I love that. I really do. Because most of the time I will tell you that when I'm offended, it really is that they just reminded me of something I did not like about myself. So when I took responsibility for that, I was able to become aware of it and heal from that. Really heal that part of me that was, whether it's whatever judgment I made about this person, whether it's they're cruel or rude or think they're egotistical, all those things are about me. When I'm judging another person, it is not them. It's really me. It's really me. So the last thing I want to do, get this, the last thing I want to do is go up to another person and tell them that they've hurt my feelings. Because then I'm just like inside my head, I'm rolling my eyes. Like, really, Tala? Really? They heard it? Really? They went in there and injected the hurt? And you really know what their intentions were? Yeah. I mean, all these things that I think are somewhat sarcastic, but I promise you they work for me to get my feet back on the ground. Stop taking the psychic high horse of I know what they're thinking, I know what they're feeling, and I know that they meant it. They meant it. They pushed my buttons, all of which is just mostly false. So let's live peacefully on the inside. Let's get it quieter. If it's still noisy in there, if you're still getting offended left and right, I want this year to be the year you're getting it quieter in there. Because when you're quieter, there is no need for worry. When it's quieter, there is no need for loss of sleep, loss of self-esteem, having an irritable, bad day or any of the following. So let's take responsibility for how we feel, and we can definitely get to make changes that we need to make. It is wonderful that we get to do that today. Thank you again for joining me. It just kind of went with 20 minutes, but I thought it would take longer. But I guess being offended, I hope this kind of makes sense to you and that you really find something useful in this little segment episode, what have you. And if you were offended, that's fine. You're allowed to feel whatever you want to feel. In my presence, friend, you're allowed to feel whatever the heck you want to feel, and I'm allowed to not fix it. So, thank you so much, you guys. Let's elevate our quality of life. Let's start with us. That's the only thing we can control anyways. So, my name is Tala, and you have been listening to Drive-thru Therapy. Love you.